organized by the Italian Embassy to Turkey and Ankara University European Research Center. Cari ospiti, vorremmo darvi il benvenuto a questo evento della Giornata della Cultura Italiana, organizzato dall'Ambasciata d'Italia in Turchia e dal Centro di Ricerca Europea dell'Università di Ankara. Throughout the day, we will try to show you the beauties of the Italian culture.
Saygıdeğer misafirlerimiz, bu güneşli günde Ankara Üniversitesi Avrupa Toplulukları Araştırma ve Uygulama Merkezi ile İtalya Büyükelçiliği'nin ortaklaşa düzenlemiş olduğu İtalyan Kültür Günü'nde sizleri aramızda görmekten mutluluk duyuyoruz. Tüm gün boyunca sizlere İtalyan kültürünün güzelliklerini göstermeye çalışacağız.
Now, I kindly invite the Director of ATOM and Jean Monnet Chair, Professor Charlie Erman, for his opening remarks.
Şimdi Otoğun Müdürü ve Jean Monnet Başkanı Profesör Doktor Charlie Erman'ı açılış konuşmasını yapmak üzere kürsüye davet ediyoruz.
Excellency, Ambassador Luigi Mattiolo, Ambassador of Italy in Ankara, dear professors, dear guests, dear students, dear participants to ATO's courses, it's a great pleasure and an honor to have you here at the opening of our Italian Culture Day activity. Many of you may know we have started this year to organize the National Day activities or Cultural Day activities for the EU countries in ATO. As one of the main purposes of our institution, we not only academically but also culturally try to contribute to the creating an awareness of European Union's countries in Turkey. Therefore, for this purpose, just a few weeks ago, we organized the first occasion of this series, and we hosted the Greek Day activity here. But the organization of the Italian Day activity has been started much more earlier than this Greek Day activity. However, because of the change of ambassadors in Ankara, we postponed it until today. Because otherwise we would like to start with Italy, maybe the first month of this year. Anyway, it's once more a great pleasure to have this organization today in Ankara University. I would like to say a few words about the main concept and the main idea behind this kind of activities in ATO. You know, when we are talking about Turkish-EU relations, or particularly Turkey's relations with the EU countries, we mainly and mostly emphasize the political relations of Turkey and the EU, or Turkey and the EU countries. We talk about Turkish membership to the EU, the course of negotiations, European Union's foreign and security policy, European Union's policies towards the Middle East, how would be the effects and impacts of Syrian refugees in Turkey to Turkish EU membership, etc., etc., etc. However, the main knowledge or information about the EU countries in Turkey is not as high as it is expected. Maybe we all working or studying international relations or social sciences in Turkey know something about the foreign policies of these respective countries, but when it comes to the other aspects, the social life, cultural life, the education styles, economy, and sports, Today, in the second session, in the afternoon session, we will also have a special panel about the sport cooperation between Turkey and Italy. When we come to these aspects, the level of information is not very high. Therefore, bearing in mind this lack of information about the EU countries in Turkey, we opted to postpone these political affairs a little bit and solely focus on to the cultural aspects of Turkish relations with the EU countries, but one by one. That's why we are now today organizing a Italian Cultural Day in a Turkish institution. Because you can learn a lot of things about these political relations from the news, from the newspapers, from social media. When it comes to this cultural dimension, maybe this kind of activities will be a good opportunity to go into the deep of this country's social, economic, educational, and cultural life. It's once more my pleasure to host our friends here. I hope at the end of the day we will learn a lot of things about Italy. We will have a good taste in our minds, but also in our tongues, because after the first session, we will also have some sort of Italian food here. I hope everyone will enjoy it. And I'm sure only half of the conference hall is now full, but when we approach the lunchtime, I'm sure it will be full outside. Nobody will take a risk to miss opportunity to taste Italian food, I think. Once more, welcome again. I wish you a very fruitful activity today. Thank you.
I kindly invite Ambassador of Italy to Turkey, His Excellency Mr. Luigi Mattiolo, to the stage for his opening remarks.
İtalya Büyükelçisi Ekselansları Sayın Luigi Mattiolo'yu konuşmasını yapmak üzere kürsüye davet ediyoruz.
Professor Dr. Charieran, Professor Nevinowska, Professor Dr. Schiffer-Susan, Professor Angelo Sant'Agostino, dear students, let me first of all express my pleasure to be here with you today, in one of my first engagements as Ambassador of Italy to Turkey, and also my sincere gratitude to the University of Ankara and its Center for European Studies for organizing these interesting initiatives that along the day and throughout multidisciplinary activities aims to illustrate how strong, how deep are the links of friendship and cooperation between our two countries in several fields, and at the same time also intend to stimulate among Turkish students, as you are, the interest about the Italian culture, the Italian way of life, the Italian food as well, which is a vehicle of knowledge and friendship among peoples. Our bilateral relations are frankly excellent, and this is something that I don't say so much after some weeks in Turkey, but also because in my previous capacity in Rome as Director General for Europe and European Union, I had a lot of occasion to verify the high degree of relations between Ankara and Rome. Why that? For many different reasons. First of all, I think it's due to the fact that we share common values, we share common interests, such as the further stabilization and the further development of the Mediterranean and the Middle East. We share the fight against terrorism. We share the membership of the Atlantic Alliance, which is a powerful factor of cohesion and unity. We share the ambition to enlarge the European Union, obviously to include Turkey as well. We share the promotion of human rights, the fostering of a rule of law and democracy, the establishment of a wider area of economic cooperation and growth, and free movement of persons, of goods, of services. We share a concern for energy security and energy diversification. We share a strong attention to the protection of environment, and I could follow, for minutes and minutes with a list which is widening day by day as far as the new challenges comes to our common attention. Last year, Italy kept its position as the fourth trade partner of Turkey with more than 19 billion US dollars of trade exchange. About 1,200 Italian companies are established in Turkey, operating in Turkey according to the Turkish legislation. And this is, believe me, a kind of result which is not so common among our main trade partners. I think that this is a clear indication of how advanced is the status of our relations. This is also mirrored by our political cooperation at different levels. This is expanding day by day. This is reinforced by a common endeavor on some hotspots, some crisis spots under the NATO flags. This is also demonstrated by the fact that Italy and Turkey, or better, Turkey is one of the countries, the few countries I would say, with which we were able to develop a framework of political dialogue which is permanent and extended to all the members of the government through the formula of the so-called intergovernmental summits. The third one of which is due to be hosted in Turkey this year, in the second half of this year. We have the feeling that the Turkish public appreciates deeply our culture, our language, and your attendance today is another evidence of it. There is a sort of increasing demand of Italy. We leave it as a further incentive, a stimulus to enhance our efforts in the cultural field. Culture indeed remains an extraordinary tool for creating future generations of European citizens. And against this background, I strongly believe that the exchange programs among universities, such as the Erasmus program, will undoubtedly help to deepen the reciprocal knowledge between our nations. You know that in Europe we have developed in the narrative, the notion of Erasmus generation, trying to identify the kind of permanent effect which are produced over young generations by the experience given to them, which was not given to my generation, for instance, of living abroad within a European framework, some stages, some important phases of their own academic studies, which means of their own professional preparation, which means of the phase of their own life in which they contribute more to shape their own future and to prepare to be the women and the men they will be. So it's something in which I believe very, very much. Thanks to this experiment, because it was born as an experiment, Erasmus, young generations will be and are going to be exposed to new ideas, to new models, also to learn about different cultures, discover some common values across the nations. And I remain convinced, and this is also something which I live as an intensive to work very much on cultural affairs and promotion of our own national language and culture. I remain convinced that when a student has the possibility to approach national language during his own university academic formation. Whatever will be the profession he will perform, artist, physician, engineer, teacher, whatever. When the time would come to go along an international effort, which means to widen the scope of his or her activity abroad, the first country which will come to his mind, to her mind, will be the country whose culture, whose language is more familiar to them. And that's why, in a way, each of them is a sort of ambassador of Italy, and that's why I consider it extremely important, this kind of exchange. And I'm extremely attentive to the exchange among young generation, to the work to be done on young generations. And this applies very much to common and shared values, obviously, and not only to the academic preparation, which is obviously the main bulk, of the content which are taught here in these halls. In conclusion, let me once again welcome this event. This is offering to academician students the possibility of exchanges ideas, widen knowledge of our culture, enhance our reciprocal sentiments of friendship. Really, this is the first Italian Culture Day. I hope the first of a long series. I hope to be able to come back here soon, also for something also devoted to European Union, since I would like to put my professional and personal background to the profit of these institutions, and really I wish you the best. Thank you. Thank you.
Ankara University Erasmus Institutional Coordinator Professor Sibel Suzanne, Professor Nevina Scan from Ankara University Italian Language and Literature Department, and Gian Monnet Chair Professor Angelo Sant'Agostino, a guest professor at Yildirim Beyazıt University, will talk about Turkish-Italian relations. I kindly invite them to the stage.
Ankara Üniversitesi Erasmus Kurumsal Koordinatörü Profesör Doktor Sibel Suzan, Ankara Üniversitesi İtalyan Dili ve Edebiyatı Bölümünden Profesör Doktor Nevin Özkan ve Gian Monnet Başkanı ve Yıldırım Beyazıt Üniversitesi'ne misafir öğretim görevlisi olan Profesör Doktor Angelo Sant'Agostino bizlere Türk-İtalyan ilişkilerinden bahsedecekler. Kendilerini sahneye davet ediyoruz.
Duyuluyor mu şimdi? Evet. Mr. Ambassador, a warm welcome to you. Thank you for this wonderful speech. Professor Çağrı Erhan, thank you for hosting this event. And Professor Suzanne, who is making everything possible as far as Erasmus is concerned, and her valuable staff, Mr. Onur Hoşnut, Mr. Fezai Secar Cörtoğlu, and distinguished guests, my dear Professor Necdet Adava, and distinguished guests for all Dr. Sesta, which makes everything possible as far as the scholarship committee is concerned. Dr. Biscardi, who has always helped us with Turkish-Italian unique organization of all the cultural events. Dear professors, dear students, a warm welcome to you all. First of all, I would like to give you some information about the Department of Italian Language and Literature. The department has been established in 1960 and today has approximately 350 students. The total period of education consists of 5 years, including a preparatory class of two semesters, which would make a year. Every year in February, an admission exam to postgraduate. Our main concern to teach our students not only the Italian language, but also the culture and history of Italy. The department consists of 7 teachers, each of them an expert in their field, and capable of teaching directly in Italian. Thanks to our fruitful collaboration with the Italian Embassy and the Italian Cultural Office, the department organizes every year in October the Italian Language Week and invites professors, artists, musicians from Italy. The event of the Italian Language Week takes place in the Faculty of Letters and usually includes panels and discussions on the topic of the year in question. The projection of Italian films with subtitles in English and Turkish, a concert or an art exhibition, and most important of all, workshops with our students related to the topic of the year. As the practice of a language in the country where it is spoken is esteemed to be of extremely important nature, the department is glad to be able to send every semester around 30 students to Italy, with the kind help of our university's Erasmus office. In this respect, we have signed agreements with Italy's forthcoming universities like La Sapienza, Ca' Foscari, Federico II, and so on. The students who graduate from the department mostly work as civil servants in the ministries, such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in embassies or consulates, such as the Italian Embassy in Ankara, in the field of tourism as interpreters, in banks as clerks, or in private firms. Our aim is to contribute, as much as we can, to the outstanding quality of Turkish-Italian relations in the fields of trade, economy, culture, literature, and music, which go way back to the foundation of the Ottoman Empire. To be precise, even to the Selçukidi period, by educating our students in both Italian language and culture studies. It may be interesting for our distinguished guests to know that the name Turkey, still in use in our days, has been used for the first time in the 11th century by the Byzantine historian Skylitzes to define the territories of the Anatolian Selçukidis, according to Professor Şerafettin Turan. Turkish-Italian relations, which started on an economical basis, with time became important also in the field of culture, leading to a high amount of Italian participation in the cultural and intellectual life of the Ottoman Empire. In fact, many artists and musicians have served the empire, such as Donizetti Pasha, as you all will remember, in the field of music, and the painter Fausto Zonnaro in the field of art. We can still admire some of his beautiful paintings in the Dolmabahce Saray today in Istanbul. The influence of Italy and Italians in Turkish culture is undeniable. The same can be said, but to a certain extent, for Turkey and Turks in the Italian culture. We can think about operas, lyric music, and that would give us a good idea about it. The presence of 523 words of Italian origin in Turkish and 146 Turkish words in Italian, according to researchers, is a good example for this issue. Throughout history, many travelers and civil servants to the Ottoman Empire have written books about Turkish language and culture, such as Pietro della Valle, and thanks to them, Turkish culture has become known to Italy, and through Italy to the European world. Even coffee has been introduced to Europe through these documents. Considering all the above-mentioned facts, we can easily see how interconnected the two countries, Italy and Turkey, are. Much more can be said, but our time is limited. I will end my speech here, and I thank once again Professor Çağrı Erhan, Professor Sibel Süzen, Dr. Fezar Sencer Cöptoğlu, and the Italian Embassy for organizing this event, and I wish you all a pleasant day. Thank you. give the word to Professor Sant'Agostino from Beyazıt University.
Right, the microphone works here. It seems that it works on here. So, well, good morning to all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank the Italian Embassy and Ambassador Luigi Mattiolo and the Cultural Attaché Gianluca Biscardi on one side, and Ataum and my dear colleague Charlie Aaron for inviting me to talk about in this day dedicated to the Italian culture. First of all, even if it was not foreseen in my speech, I have to say that, Professor Charlie, that I appreciate very much your initiative to host in this center the Cultural Day of EU member states. I consider this an important initiative and absolutely in line with what is the motto of Europe, no? United in or union in diversity. Too many times we scholars about the European Union are so much concentrated on huge issues, and we tend to forget that Europe also is made up of with its diversities, its richness in culture and local tradition. So again, congratulations for this initiative. After saying this, I cannot forget, as a sort of guideline of my speech, that I am a scholar in European studies. So let me say also an old scholar. I am one of the first, or second generation of Giamone professors, and I will deal with the relation between Italy and Turkey, mainly within the European framework. In my intervention, I will touch some points. There were three. Now they are four after listening to the speech concerning the activities of the Department of History. And so let's say there will be 3.5 points. Well, some of these points are linked among themselves, others are not. However, all of them are the product of my studies and observation on Turkey. I am here as Giamone professor since a couple of years, but my relation with Turkey go back to the Turkish University goes back to 15 years ago. So, so my starting point, the first fact that I wanted to quote goes back to a few years prior to the start of the European construction. And my starting point is 1943. 1943 not just because it was the 20th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey, but because but somehow can have had an influence on what I'm going to say. But because in 1943, a man, an Italian, who 5 years later, in 1948, became the first elected president of Italy, I'm talking about Luigi Einaudi, published an essay whose title was for the European Economic Federation. And that essay, and then a subsequent essay, which was published 1 year later when he was in his Swiss exile because of the occupation of North Italy by the German army. We were at the end of World War, in the last two dramatic years of World War II. In these two essays, and now they projected what is the European, what had to be the European Federation, its project for a European Federation. That project, to a large extent, has been transferred into the various treaties that we have. Paris, the first one, establishes the currency community, to the Treaty of Lisbon. Why, let us say, is relevant for Turkey? Because in that essay, the essay of 43, and now they're talking about the country who had to be set up the European Federation and the one who might join the European Federation later, included also Turkey. So, and now they wrote, I quote from his writing, the economic federations will initially be extended only to a part of Europe and leave aside the countries which throughout the war have remained neutral. Switzerland, Portugal, Sweden, and European Turkey. European Turkey. But not for this, the fruit of the solution to the war here advanced of the European Federation must be few and small. So at this point we can wonder why two things. First of all, as I now said, the country who first set up the European community were the ones who had fought the war, the six founding countries. Later, others joined, among them Portugal, Sweden, as they now indicated, Switzerland chose another way, but in any case, at least economically, Switzerland is absolutely integrated in and is the third commercial part of Europe. Then Turkey, a candidate state. So another point that we could consider out of this sort of analogy, what he did really mean by writing European Turkey. Well, analogy does not give us an explanation. We can just try to imagine what was his thought. In 1943, the Republic of Turkey was still quite young. And it's absolutely possible that his process of modernization in the previous 20 years had undoubtedly impressed Einaudi. Einaudi was an acute observer of economic and political reality. He was had also a deep knowledge of history. And let me remind the two other works of Einaudi somehow related with Turkey. His first article on the European Federation, which goes back to 1897. 1897, you know much better than me, is very important year for Turkey because it was one of the several wars with Greece. That opportunity, the problem was the island of Crete. And then it happened that the European five big powers, among these Italy, who were a big power in those years, sent their ship to bomb Crete. The aim was not to help nor Greece nor Turkey. The aim was stopping war, because you did not make war without our consent, without consulting us. So, and now they show in this manifestation, this episode, first manifestation of possible European Turkey a few years later when the capitulation system was abolished here in So, so going back to what Enabdi said about European Turkey, well, we do not have evidence really what Enabdi was thinking about the Turk and his process of modernization. I can guess that he might have been grateful to Ataturk. Enabdi was a liberal economist, and Ataturk hosted in the 30s at the Istanbul University several liberal economists and thinkers who had to escape from Germany. Among this, a close friend of Enabdi, who was Wilhelm Röhm. And I think that Enabdi could just appreciate a lot the most quoted, what is the most quoted saying over the Turk, peace at home, peace to the world. Actually, the establishment of federal links among the European states was, according to Enabdi, a way to have peace at home and to take peace to the world. So in this sense, there is a strict correspondence between the sort of Enabdi and sort of Ataturk. And probably Enabdi considered that this process of modernization, which was also a process of Europeanization, was an essential ingredient for the participation of Turkey in the European Federation. Today, the problem is the same. To be member of the European Union, Turkey has to adopt the acquis communautaire. So the situation is the same. Turkey should be more European in this sense, adopting the acquis communautaire to be member of the European Union. How much time do I have? 5 more minutes. Okay, I have just 5 more minutes, but I will leave the other facts for the second round. And let's conclude. Einaudi was the first advocate, the first Italian advocate, but not advocate, membership. Turkey is a member of the European Federation. But today we have other advocates. Italians have been traditionally advocates and supporters of the Turkish membership of the European Union. Well, as you know, Turkey became a candidate state in 1999 at Helsinki European Council. In that year, the President of Italy was Massimo D'Alema. And the President of the Commission was Romano Prodi, another Italian, and both supported Turkey to become a candidate state. Well, since that day, we were 12 December 1999, several governments have ruled Italy. We had several premiers. We had, if I remember them all, there have been many, so I may forget some of them. But after D'Alema, we had Amato, Berlusconi, Prodi, again Berlusconi, then Monti, Letta, Renzi. So belonging to different political families. All of them have supported Turkey as a full member, and also has been to be underlined that all of these governments have been supported by different political majorities. So, last fact I wanted to quote concerning the support of the Italian government to the membership of Turkey, and that in 2005, when started the negotiation, as you know, are taken in the form of intergovernmental conference. So, to start the negotiation, member states need the approval of the parliament, and the starting of negotiation also was approved by the membership treaty. Okay, that's all for the moment.
Thank you, Professor Sant'Agostino, for this interesting speech on Turkish-Italian relations. And now I would like to invite Professor Suzanne to deliver her speech.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Dear Mr. Ambassador, probably John will give some information to him. Professor Charles Kam and Professor Necdet Adaba, all my colleagues and distinguished guests, and most of all the students, you are all welcome. And I would like to thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today, because Italy is, Professor Özkan knows very well, is one of my favorite countries. Well, my job is, actually I am a professor of pharmaceutical chemistry in pharmacy faculty, so it is a bit different than international relations, but I am very interested in international relations for years. So I started to work in the university as an institutional Erasmus coordinator, institutional coordinator of international students, which cover all over the world and all our relations with the world. Also, institutional coordination of internationalization. So I've got 3 different coordinator jobs, but